Chile, work continues to extinguish the forest fire in Viña del Mar, which so far has left 2 people dead. In the U.S., over 3,000 flights have been canceled as a massive winter storm has been battering northern states. And a court in the Netherlands ordered Shell, a London-based multinational company, to compensate Nigerian farmers affected by the oil spill. Hello and welcome to teleSUR English. I am Estefania Bravo from the headquarters of Quito, Ecuador. This is from the south. In Chile, work continues to extinguish the forest fire in Viña del Mar, which so far has left 2 people dead in addition to the destruction of nearly 110 hectares of forest. Air units have been enabled to draw water from the Sausalito Lagoon to calm the ashes and the complex fire outbreaks that reached 50 kilometers per hour. Firefighters from Valparaíso and Santiago de Chile arrived to the place to fight the flames that have already consumed more than 110 hectares. A massive winter storm has been battering the U.S. for the past 2 days, with plunging temperatures prompting 13 states to implement emergency plans and activate National Guard units. The storm is expected to intensify, with its pressure matching that of a Category 2 hurricane as it moves into the Great Lakes this Friday. Over 3,000 flights have been canceled already, and more than 200 million people across the country are under alert for life-threatening below-zero wind chills. Nicaragua remembers the victims of the 1972 earthquake, which one day, like today, 5 decades ago, devastated the city of Managua, causing more than 10,000 deaths. The Sandinista government, headed by President Daniel Ortega and Vice President Rosario Murillo, will hold a state act in memory of those who died in the fateful natural event. As part of the activities in tribute to those who died in the biggest earthquake in Nicaragua's history, the inauguration of a memorial park is also planned. And on Thursday, Venezuelan opposition figures who used to support former Venezuelan congressman and self-proclaimed President Juan Guaidó voted against his unconstitutional government. With 72 votes in favor, 23 against, and 9 abstentions, the first consultation shows a disapproval of Guaidó, using the figure of interim government, which is not contemplated in the country's legal framework. Guaidó had the support of 4 opposition parties, and 3 of them voted against him on Thursday: Acción Democrática, Primero Justicia, and also Nuevo Tiempo, or New Time, could definitely dismiss with him on December 29th, when the second consultation will take place. Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro announced on Thursday that Manuel Vicente Badel, who was serving as consul in Sao Paulo, will be the country's new ambassador to Brazil. After his appointment is approved by the Venezuelan Congress, Badel will be able to assume the diplomatic representation of his country starting January 1st, when Brazil's President-elect Lula da Silva begins his 4-year term in office. With the appointment of the Venezuelan ambassador, both nations fully reestablished their diplomatic relations, which were suspended by the far-right President Jair Bolsonaro in 2019. In Brazil, President-elect Lula da Silva's transition team highlighted that Jair Bolsonaro's government promoted a dismantling of essential public services and points out the need to reverse these decisions. The final report from the transition team pointed out the need for a general revocation of the norms instituted in several areas. According to the document released on Thursday, the dismantling responded to a logic of fewer rights for the majority and more privileges for the minority. According to the same report, Bolsonaro leaves the country with 33.1 million Brazilians suffering from hunger and 125.2 million living with a decree of food insecurity. A second shipment of Cuban anti-COVID-19 Abdala vaccines is already in Mexican territory, the Biological and Reactive Institution of Mexico confirmed today. The time when the population already has a high coverage rate and as the health authorities warned a possible outbreak in January. The first shipment is already in the healthcare centers and is being used as reinforcement for adults over 18 years of age, according to the Capital Secretary. We're taking our first break now. Join us again after this. And also don't forget to follow us on our TikTok account at teleSUR English for more news. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Peru on Thursday, a delegation from the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights met with the ousted President Pedro Castillo. Relatives of the former president reportedly held a meeting in a hotel in the Peruvian capital with members of the regional body. On Wednesday night, the former president urgently requested to be visited by the commission at the prison in Lima, where he's being held. Wilfredo Robles, defense attorney for the Peruvian former president, announced the conditions of his client's imprisonment.
He has no communication, there is no access to telephones, there is no access to television news, to newspapers, to raise the irregular way, the unlawful way in which he has been removed from the presidency, then arrested when the Congress had not yet approved the vacancy. He is arrested.
On Thursday, Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador rejected Joe Biden's tweet where the U.S. president referred to his country as America.
Mi presidente, porque lo estimo.
My president, who I esteem, of the United States, and who also constantly tells me that we have to have a relationship with an equal footing. And he puts on his Twitter, he tells the president of Ukraine, welcome to America. What happened, President Biden? With all due respect, America is all of us.
The Russian government rejected the alleged elaboration of a peace plan by the Ukrainian government. The Ukrainian authorities indicated that they are still working on the details of the proposal for a peaceful solution to the conflict. In a report, President Zelensky's team reviewed a 10-point strategy for peace negotiations. U.S. President Joe Biden received the Ukrainian president on December 21st at the White House, 10 months after the Russian special military operation to evaluate joint strategies. The president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, stated that the special military operation in Ukraine is aimed at protecting the population of the Donbass in light of NATO's intentions to expand to the east. Let's have a look at the following report.
According to President Vladimir Putin, Russia's special military operation in Ukraine that began on 24 February last was a necessary action in defense of the population of Donbass.
Circumstances require us to take decisive and immediate action. The Donbass People's Republic have requested assistance from Russia.
Russian president announced a special military operation to free the Donbass region from Kiev-sponsored attacks. In a national statement, leader of the Eurasian giant claimed that his government's decision was a response to threats from the North Atlantic Treaty Organization as it expands eastward and brings its military infrastructure closer to Russia's borders.
With this decision, we are replying to the fundamental threats that year after year, step by step, rudely and without ceremony, are created by irresponsible politicians in the West regarding our country.
The operation is now in its 10th month with no end in sight, from the joining of our eastern Ukrainian territories to Russia with an overwhelming yes, to the intense bombings by Kiev against the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, endangering several countries in the region, as well as the arrival of weapons from the West to further boost the conflict, are some of the elements that have marked the course of the Russian-Ukrainian war confrontation. The death of civilians and terrorist attacks have not been long in coming, and in light of this, the Russian army, using high-precision weapons, has attacked the military and energy infrastructure of the opposition. While in the last days of 2022, Kiev started the most bloody bombing against the city of Donetsk. But in addition to the endless conflict, there is another battle of no lesser importance, the economic one, where Moscow is currently the most affected country in the world with more than 10,000 financial actions against it. Something that has become a boomerang effect for the European Union, which is currently dealing with an energy crisis that is putting its citizens on edge.
He who sows wind, as they say, will reap storms. Indeed, the crisis has taken on a global character. It affects everyone. There is no need to harbor illusions. Humanity now has, in fact, two paths: either to continue accumulating a burden of problems that would inevitably crush us all, or to try together to find solutions. Even if they are imperfect, they may work, capable of making our world more stable and secure.
The Russian leader has stated that without doubt, it is the impassioned and hegemonic desire of the United States and its allies that controls and directs the world situation.
All this, without exaggeration, is not even a systematic crisis, but a doctrinal one of the neoliberal model of the U.S. world order. They have no ideas of creation and positive development. They simply have nothing to offer the world except to maintain their dominance. I'm convinced that real democracy in a multipolar world implies, above all, the possibility for any nation, any society, any civilization to choose its own path, its own social-political system.
The situation between Russia and Ukraine has moved off the world, including some politicians crossing their fingers for the end of the conflict, although others, especially those linked to Washington, are advocating that Kiev does not negotiate with Moscow.
We're taking our final break now. Join us again after this. And also, don't forget to follow me on my Twitter account at teleSUR for more. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. A court in the Netherlands ordered Shell, a London-based multinational company, to compensate Nigerian farmers affected by the oil spill. The company must pay 15 million euros in compensation to Nigerian farmers and fishermen for oil spills that severely polluted 3 villages in the Niger Delta. The sentence was postponed to 2021 in an attempt by the company to negotiate with the communities involved in the litigation and thus mitigate the court ruling. The Nigerian National Bureau of Statistics reported that inflation rose to 21.47% in November, up from 21.09% in the previous month. Experts point out that a sudden spike in demand before the Christmas shopping season, higher import costs resulting from the country's currency depreciation, and an increase in production expenses as the main culprits. Moreover, a significant reduction in food production together with insecurity issues have resulted in an acute rise in food prices, which have steadily increased since July of 2020.
Sometimes, by the grace of God, we get 2 times per meal, sometimes once. And that once may be either night. That once may be either night, or maybe in the morning, in the night, we'll sleep over like that. And sometimes God provides somebody that will just dash us something to eat.
The inflation keeps going up, and it has actually driven Nigerians into poverty. The reason why this inflation has made Nigerians so poor is the fact that the food inflation keeps rising from state to state, from month-on-month comparison. And that's as a result of the increase in the price of diesel. It is diesel that is used in transporting food materials, and also the level of insecurity in Nigeria has also made these inflation figures to go up.
And in Malawi, health authorities announced on Thursday that the death toll from the cholera outbreak has passed 400. Since the first cases were reported, the number of infections have been increasing, nearing almost 14,000. Malawi's health minister urged people in the worst hit areas to get vaccinated. According to official figures, 13 of the 15 districts targeted for cholera vaccination have achieved 83.6% coverage. On Friday, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Burkina Faso has declared the United Nations coordinator, Italian Barbara Mansi, persona non grata, and has asked for her to leave the country. According to a diplomatic source, the expulsion is justified by the fact that Barbara Mansi recently requested and obtained Burkina Faso's withdrawal of non-essential personnel from the United Nations system, even though no official reason for the expulsion has yet been given. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, the M23 insurgent militia announced an agreement to withdraw from strategic positions in the city of Goma, East Africa. In this regard, the group stated that it agrees to forfeit its positions to Kibumba area to contribute to peace in the context of the deployment of regional forces from East Africa to address the conflict between the National Army and the militia. And Chinese President Xi Jinping met in Beijing with Zhang Li-Keqiu, Hong Kong's Special Administrative Region Chief Executive, to learn about the overall situation in the part of the country. At the meeting, the Hong Kong's Chief Executive presented a report to Xi Jinping, the Chinese leader, who acknowledged that since taking office, Li has united all social sectors in the region. The president also said that the senior official is working to safeguard national security and to revive the economy. Xi Jinping took the opportunity to reiterate his steadfast commitment to the policy of one country, two systems. And with that story, we've come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find these and more stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also be sure to follow us on our socials. We're on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Telegram as well. For Telesur English, I am Estefania Bravo. Thank you for watching and have happy holidays.